The General at the Front. March 30th, 1945. 0700 hours. A narrow forest road south of Paderborn, Germany. The morning air is cold and damp, heavy with the smell of wet earth and pine needles. Low fog clings to the tree line, blurring the dark trunks that crowd in on both sides of the road. Somewhere deeper in the woods, an engine idles, then stops. Metal creaks as it cools. Major General Maurice Rose sits in the front passenger seat of a Jeep, collar turned up against the chill. The road ahead disappears into shadow. He leans forward slightly, eyes fixed on the bend where the forest tightens. German armor has been reported moving through this area during the night. Rose knows it. He is here anyway. The convoy is small, 5 vehicles in total. A Sherman tank in the lead, its engine rumbling low. Behind it, a reconnaissance jeep. Rose's jeep runs third, followed by an armored car and a lone motorcycle bringing up the rear. 15 men. No artillery. No infantry screen. Just speed and confidence. Rose prefers it this way. He is 45 years old, 28 years in uniform, the highest-ranking American officer in Europe who still insists on leading from the front. Other generals command from map tables and radio nets miles behind the fighting. Rose commands from the road itself. He wants to see the ground. He wants to feel the pace of the advance. He wants to look the enemy in the eye. His aide had warned him before dawn. Let the armored column go first. Let reconnaissance clear the road. Rose had shaken his head. German forces were falling back everywhere. Speed mattered more than caution. It always had. The 3rd Armored Division had just covered 90 miles in a single day, punching deep into Germany faster than any Allied armored unit had ever moved through enemy territory. It was a record that fit Rose perfectly. Relentless pressure. No pause. No breathing room for the enemy. But records attract attention. During the night, elements of the German 116th Panzer Division had slipped into the forests south of Paderborn. Veteran crews. Heavy tanks. Orders were simple. Stop the Americans. At 0800, the first shots crack through the trees. Rifle fire snaps across the road, sharp and close. The lead Sherman brakes hard. Almost instantly, a flash erupts from the woods. An anti-tank round slams into the Sherman's turret. Steel tears open. Fire spills out. 3 men die before they can escape. Rose is already moving, jumping from the jeep into the ditch as bullets whip overhead. German engines roar to life on both sides of the road. He understands the situation in seconds. This is not a skirmish. It is an ambush. Moments later, the jeep lurches forward, bouncing across a frozen field as the small convoy tries to break free. For a brief instant, it seems possible. Then they hit the road again and see it. A Tiger tank blocks the way. 45 tons of steel sits squarely across the narrow road. Hull turned sideways, trees hemming it in on both sides. There is no way around. The jeep skids to a stop 15 feet from the tank. The turret hatch opens. A German tank commander rises into view, machine pistol in his hands, shouting. Rose steps out of the jeep. He raises his arms. 2 silver stars on his helmet catch the muted light filtering through the trees. What happens next will be argued over for decades. It will take less than 30 seconds. It will end the life of the most aggressive armored commander in the United States Army. But Maurice Rose's story does not begin here. It begins far from this road, far from Germany, in Middletown, Connecticut, on November 26, 1899. He is born into a family of rabbis. His father expects him to follow tradition. His grandfather had led congregations in Poland. The path seems set. Rose has other ideas. In 1916, at 17 years old, still in high school in Denver, Colorado, he walks into a National Guard recruiting office and lies about his age. The uniform matters more to him than approval. When his father finds out, he is furious. Rose does not back down. 1 year later, America enters the First World War. Rose completes officer training and sails for France as a second lieutenant. He is 18 years old when German artillery wounds him at Saint-Mihiel. He recovers. He returns to the line. By the time the armistice is signed, he has earned the rank of captain through battlefield performance. After the war, civilian life feels empty. Sales work bores him. In 1919, he re-enlists. Advancement is slow. Pay is poor. Rose stays anyway. He attends every school he can. Infantry, cavalry, staff college, industrial planning. He studies war as a craft, not a theory. By the time the next global war arrives, Maurice Rose is ready. He will prove it the same way he always has. By going first. Learning to fight forward. By the late 1930s, Maurice Rose is no longer the teenager who lied his way into uniform. He is a professional soldier shaped by 2 decades of deliberate preparation. Promotions come steadily, not through politics, but through consistency. In 1936, he makes major. In 1941, now a lieutenant colonel, he takes command of the 3rd Battalion, 13th Armored Regiment at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Fort Knox is where the future of American armored warfare is being invented. Tanks are still viewed by many senior officers as infantry support weapons, slow and fragile. Rose disagrees. He believes armor should be decisive, fast, and aggressive. During training exercises, he pushes his battalion harder than anyone else. Longer days, faster movements, fewer safety margins. A civilian reporter, Keys Beach, watches Rose train his men and writes that he is probably the best-looking man in the army. Tall, dark-haired, calm. But it is not appearance that draws attention from senior commanders. It is the way his units move. They move with urgency. They move as if time itself is the enemy. When the United States enters World War II in December 1941, Rose is quickly pulled upward. He becomes executive officer of the 1st Armored Brigade, then Chief of Staff of the 2nd Armored Division. In November 1942, he sails for North Africa with Operation Torch. Tunisia is where theory collides with reality. German armor in North Africa is experienced, disciplined, and confident. Panzer crews have already fought across Poland, France, and Russia. American units are green. Mistakes are punished immediately. Early engagements reveal weaknesses in coordination, communications, and command. Rose absorbs the lessons fast. He does not hesitate. He does not freeze under fire. During the fighting in Tunisia, he becomes the first American officer to accept the unconditional surrender of a large German armored force. Surrounded and outmaneuvered, the Germans recognize the situation. Rose negotiates the surrender personally. Calm, direct, professional. The performance earns him a star. Brigadier General, 1943. Now commanding Combat Command A of the 2nd Armored Division, Rose leads his men into Sicily in July 1943. The terrain is unforgiving. Mountains, narrow roads, stone villages that become natural fortresses. German and Italian forces contest every ridge line. Tanks struggle to maneuver. Infantry casualties climb. Rose responds the only way he knows how. He goes forward. He positions himself where he can see the fight. He walks ground under fire. He adjusts attacks based on what his eyes tell him, not what reports suggest. When progress slows, he pushes harder. His combat command cracks multiple defensive positions through direct assault. Losses are heavy. So are results. Senior commanders take note. In June 1944, 2 days after the Normandy landings, Rose comes ashore in France. The Bocage country is worse than Sicily. Thick hedgerows turn every field into a kill zone. German anti-tank guns sit hidden behind earthen banks. Shermans burn at alarming rates. Crews die before they ever see the enemy. Again, Rose refuses to slow down. He works with engineers to cut paths through hedgerows. He coordinates tanks and infantry more tightly. He accepts losses as the cost of momentum. His superiors see something rare. A commander who does not break under pressure and does not lose control when casualties mount. On August 7, 1944, the 3rd Armored Division stalls during the breakout from Normandy. Progress has slowed. Casualties are high. The commander is relieved in the middle of combat. First Army needs someone who will not hesitate. Lightning Joe Collins recommends Maurice Rose. At 44 years old, Rose is promoted to Major General and given command of the 3rd Armored Division. 15,000 men. 3 combat commands. A reputation for speed and violence already earned under previous leadership, but now drifting. Rose wastes no time. On his first day, he gathers his combat command leaders. He does not give a long speech. He gives expectations. The 3rd Armored will lead 1st Army's advance. They will move faster than anyone else. They will accept risk. Commanders who cannot keep up will be replaced. Within 24 hours, the division accelerates. 5 weeks later, on September 12, 1944, 3rd Armored crosses the German border near Recken. At 1,430 hours, American tanks roll into the first German town captured by Allied forces. Rose is riding in the lead vehicle. Ahead lies the Siegfried Line. Concrete bunkers. Dragon's teeth. Minefields. Hitler's Western Wall promised to stop any invasion. Rose does not slow down. Shermans fire high explosive rounds into bunker apertures. Infantry advance with flamethrowers and satchel charges. German 88mm guns cut through American armor at ranges beyond 2,000 yards. Shermans must close to 500 to penetrate in return. They close anyway. By nightfall, the outer defenses are breached. The Siegfried Line has been penetrated in less than a day. Eisenhower sends congratulations. The psychological impact is enormous. The cost is just as real. By late September, 41 Shermans are gone. Crews are dead. Loaders die in shocking numbers. Rose keeps pushing. He believes speed saves lives in the long run. Every day spent trading fire favors the defender. By October, rain turns roads to mud. Air support fades. Supply lines stretch thin. Ammunition is rationed. Progress slows to yards per day. German counterattacks strike constantly. Rose moves his command post closer to the front. 2 miles, then less. His staff begs him to pull back. He refuses. He says he needs to see the battlefield. And the men see him. They see a general who does not hide. A general who shares their danger. The reputation spreads. Spearhead moves forward again and again, not because it is ordered, but because it believes the man leading it understands exactly what it costs. That belief will carry them into the winter of 1944 and into the Ardennes. Holding the line in the Ardennes. December 16, 1944. Before dawn. The Ardennes forest, Belgium. Snow falls thick and wet, muffling sound and swallowing distance. Visibility is measured in yards, not miles. American soldiers wake to the sound of artillery crashing through trees and frozen ground. Entire units are caught off guard as German forces surge west in a last, desperate gamble. 3 German armies. Nearly 600 tanks. The objective is the Meuse River and beyond it, Antwerp. If they succeed, the Allied front will split in 2. The 3rd Armored Division receives orders to move north immediately. Rose does not hesitate. He pulls his units out of their positions near Stahlberg and drives through the night. Roads are icy. Vehicles slide into ditches. Engines freeze. Men fight exhaustion as much as the enemy. By December 19th, elements of the division reach defensive positions near Hatton and Huy, directly in the path of the German advance. Rose studies the map, then the roads themselves. He understands what the Germans must do. Their armor has to pass through a limited number of junctions to reach the Meuse. If those junctions are held, the offensive breaks. He places his tanks there. The 3rd Armored has roughly 200 operational Shermans. Intelligence reports indicate at least 4 German panzer divisions moving toward the sector. The odds are brutal. Rose tells his commanders the same thing he always has. They will hold, regardless of what the Germans throw at them. The first attacks come on December 20th. Panthers and Tigers push forward with infantry riding their decks. German artillery pounds American positions, probing for weakness. Rose's tank crews engage at maximum range, using hull-down positions and overlapping fields of fire. Shermans burn. German tanks burn too. By nightfall, 17 German tanks are destroyed. 12 American tanks are lost. The fighting does not stop. Over the next 3 days, German forces probe again and again. They shift axes of attack. They look for gaps. Rose moves reserves personally, driving forward under fire to see the ground. He adjusts positions by yards. He refuses to give up key roads. On December 23rd, the weather breaks. Low clouds lift. American fighter bombers finally appear, screaming down on German armor trapped on narrow roads. Bombs and rockets tear into columns of tanks and trucks. The pressure eases. By Christmas Day, the German offensive has stalled in the 3rd Armored Sector. They have not reached the Meuse. Patton's Third Army is already attacking the southern flank of the Bulge. The initiative is slipping away from Germany. The cost is severe. During 2 weeks of fighting, the 3rd Armored Division destroys 98 German tanks. 41 Shermans are completely destroyed. 33 more are damaged. Infantry casualties exceed 500 men killed, wounded, or missing, but the line holds. In January 1945, American forces counterattack to erase the Bulge. The fighting is savage. Frozen ground prevents proper foxholes. Frostbite claims men as fast as shrapnel. Rose's division grinds forward, pushing German units back to their starting positions. By late January, the Ardennes offensive is over. Germany has lost 100,000 men and hundreds of tanks it cannot replace. The Wehrmacht will never again launch a major offensive in the West. The 3rd Armored is pulled back for rest and refit. Rose gives them 2 weeks. Replacement Shermans arrive. Replacement crews arrive slower. Veterans train them as best they can. There is no time for comfort. Another offensive is coming. On February 23rd, 1st Army attacks across the Roer River. Resistance is lighter than expected. German units are exhausted, hollowed out by the Ardennes. The 3rd Armored punches through and advances 15 miles in 3 days. Rose pushes toward Cologne. Cologne is Germany's 4th largest city, an industrial hub, a propaganda prize. German commanders understand its value and rush reinforcements into the ruins. The battle begins on March 2nd. Urban combat is merciless. Bombed-out buildings become strongpoints. Panzerfaust teams hide in basements and upper floors. Tanks are essential and vulnerable at the same time. Rose establishes his command post in a captured bunker less than a mile from the fighting. Artillery and small arms fire echo constantly. His aide later says the general seems incapable of staying behind while his men face danger. For 5 days, the 3rd Armored fights block by block. On March 7th, American troops reach the center of Cologne. German forces withdraw across the Rhine and destroy the Hohenzollern Bridge behind them. Rose is among the first senior officers to reach the river. Cologne is shattered, 85% destroyed. The cathedral still stands, towering over the ruins. Dead German soldiers lie in the streets. Burned vehicles block intersections. The smell of death hangs over everything. Rose walks the city that evening. Snipers are still active. He seems unconcerned. He wants to see what his division has done. There is no time to linger. Intelligence reports indicate German forces regrouping east of the Rhine. The Ruhr industrial region still fuels the German war effort. Allied strategy calls for encirclement, not direct assault. The 3rd Armored Division will spearhead the northern arm of that trap. Rose receives his orders on March 24th. He studies the map. Paderborn lies nearly 100 miles away. He tells his commanders they will be there in 24 hours. 90 miles in a day. March 29, 1945. Dawn. East of the Rhine. Engines roar to life across muddy fields and shattered roads. The 3rd Armored Division moves out in 3 parallel columns, each a combat command driving hard toward Paderborn. Rose places himself near the front, as always. Speed is everything. German forces are retreating, disorganized, trying to escape the closing jaws of the Allied encirclement. This is the moment Rose has waited for. Resistance is scattered. A roadblock here. A handful of anti-tank guns there. Units that try to stand are bypassed or crushed. Infantry ride on tank decks, clinging to handholds as columns surge forward at 20 to 30 miles per hour when terrain allows. Artillery struggles to keep up. Fuel trucks race to stay in contact. By noon, the division has covered 40 miles. Radio reports tell the same story again and again. Roads clear. Enemy withdrawing. Minimal opposition. Rose urges his commanders to maintain momentum. This is armored warfare as he believes it should be fought. Do not give the enemy time to think. Do not give them time to dig in. By late afternoon, lead elements are approaching the outskirts of Paderborn. The division has advanced more than 90 miles since dawn. No Allied armored division has ever moved that far through enemy territory in a single day. The achievement is extraordinary, but speed has a cost. As darkness falls on March 29th, German commanders react. Elements of the 116th Panzer Division receive orders to stop the American advance south of Paderborn. Veteran crews move into the forests, positioning heavy tanks along likely avenues of approach. They work through the night, engines off, crews listening to the distant rumble of American armor passing beyond them. They are not retreating. They are setting a trap. At first light on March 30th, Rose prepares to continue the advance. His staff advises caution. Let reconnaissance go first. Let armor clear the road. German forces were active overnight. Rose refuses. He wants to find elements of Task Force Wellborn that had been cut off during the previous evening's drive. He wants to see the situation himself. At 0700, he climbs into his jeep at the head of the task force. 5 vehicles, 15 men. The convoy moves south along a narrow forest road toward Kirchborchen. Trees crowd close. Visibility is limited. Shadows cling to the ground even after sunrise. At approximately 0800, small arms fire erupts from the woods. The lead Sherman halts. An anti-tank round slams into its turret. Flames burst out. 3 crewmen die inside. German engines rev to life on both sides of the road. Rose understands immediately. They have driven into an armored ambush. Men scatter for cover. Bullets snap through branches overhead. There is no room to deploy. No infantry screen. No artillery. The convoy mounts up and bolts across an open field, bouncing violently over frozen ground. For a moment, escape seems possible. Then they turn back toward the road and see it. A Tiger tank blocks the exit. The reconnaissance jeep ahead accelerates and slips past, racing toward American lines. Rose's jeep tries to follow. The Tiger swings its hull across the road, sealing it completely. Trees block any chance of going around. The jeep stops 15 feet from the tank. The turret hatch opens. A German tank commander rises, shouting, weapon raised. Rose steps out first. He raises his hands. 2 stars mark him unmistakably as a general. Standard procedure follows. He is the senior officer. He will surrender formally. He reaches toward his holster to remove his pistol and place it on the ground. The German fires. Short bursts from a machine pistol. At least 14 rounds. Bullets strike Rose in the head and torso. He collapses instantly, dead before he hits the ground. Major Robert Bellinger and Sergeant T.J. Shaw run. The German does not pursue. They reach American lines 30 minutes later and report what has happened. The road goes quiet. Maurice Rose lies beside it, near a plum tree, alone in the forest he refused to avoid. The highest-ranking American officer killed by enemy fire in the European War. After the shot, the news reaches 1st Army headquarters within hours. Lightning Joe Collins listens in silence as the report is read. He had warned Rose again and again. Pull back. Let others lead. Rose had ignored every warning. Now the 3rd Armored Division has lost its commander at the exact moment of its greatest success. There is no pause for grief. German forces are still trying to escape the developing encirclement. Brigadier General Doyle Hickey assumes temporary command immediately. Orders go out across the division. The advance will continue. Paderborn must be taken. The road where Rose fell must be cleared. American tanks moved back toward the ambush site before nightfall on March 31st. This time they are not surprised. Shermans fan out, infantry dismounts, artillery fires into the woods. German armor that had slipped away during the night is caught and destroyed. The forest that had hidden the Tiger now burns. By late afternoon, elements of the 3rd Armored Division enter Paderborn. Fighting is heavy but brief. German resistance collapses under pressure from multiple directions. On April 1st, American forces link up east of the Ruhr industrial region. The encirclement is complete. 376,000 German soldiers are trapped. It is the largest pocket of enemy forces ever sealed in the Western Theater. 1st Army Headquarters makes an announcement on April 2nd. The Ruhr Pocket will be renamed the Rose Pocket in honor of the fallen commander. Every man in the 3rd Armored understands what that means. The final operation has unfolded exactly as Rose promised. Paderborn in 24 hours. The Ruhr sealed. But questions remain. The army launches an immediate investigation into Rose's death. The stakes are high. If a surrendering general was deliberately killed, it would constitute a war crime. Colonel Leon Jaworski is assigned to lead the inquiry. Witnesses are interviewed. Major Bellinger states clearly that Rose had his hands raised, that he was surrendering, that he was reaching to remove his pistol as required by protocol. Captured German soldiers from the 116th Panzer Division offer a different account. They describe confusion, poor light under heavy trees, an American officer reaching toward his holster. A split-second decision made under extreme stress. Jaworski visits the site himself. He notes how shadows cling to the road even in daylight. He measures distances. He reconstructs timelines. From the jeep stopping to the gunfire, less than 30 seconds pass. The conclusion is grim and unsatisfying. Maurice Rose was killed in action, not executed. A tragic misunderstanding, not a deliberate crime. No charges are filed. The case is closed in June 1945. Rose is buried on April 3rd at the Netherlands American Cemetery in Margareton. More than 2,000 soldiers from the 3rd Armored Division attend the funeral. A Star of David is placed above his grave, honoring his Jewish heritage. Later, at his family's request, a cross replaces it, reflecting his listed religious preference. The division does not stop. On April 11th, 3rd Armored troops discover the Dora Mittelbau concentration camp near Nordhausen. More than 1,000 prisoners are already dead. Hundreds more are barely alive. Medical teams rush in. Men who have fought tanks now fight starvation and disease. The division's final major combat comes at Dessau on April 23rd. After 3 days of fighting, the city falls. 2 weeks later, on May 8th, 1945, Germany surrenders. The war in Europe is over. Maurice Rose does not see it. He is remembered as the highest-ranking American officer killed by enemy fire in the European theater. 45 years old. 28 years of service. But numbers only tell part of the story. Follow me. In May 1945, the 3rd Armored Division compiles its final statistics. Total battle casualties number 9,243 men. Of those, 2,147 are dead. 100 remain missing in action. The figures are stark, and they reflect the kind of war the division fought. Fast, violent, unforgiving. Under Maurice Rose's command, the 3rd Armored achieved a list of firsts unmatched by any American armored unit. First to enter Germany. First to breach the Siegfried Line. First to capture a major German city. Longest single-day advance through enemy territory. Each record is tied directly to Rose's leadership philosophy. Speed over caution. Aggression over hesitation. Presence over distance. His decorations reflect a career spent under fire. Distinguished Service Cross. Distinguished Service Medal. 2 Silver Stars. 2 Legions of Merit. 2 Purple Hearts. 2 Bronze Stars. French Legion of Honor. French Croix de Guerre. Belgian Croix de Guerre. 3 times during the war he is recommended for the Medal of Honor. Each time the recommendation is downgraded. The reasons vary. Some senior officers believe his tactics are reckless. Others argue that a general has no business leading from the front. Courage, in their view, is not measured by proximity to danger. The men who served under him see it differently. Tank crews who survived the war say Rose gave them the best possible chance. His insistence on speed meant fewer days trading fire with Doug and German guns. His refusal to command from the rear meant he understood exactly what his men faced. When he ordered an attack, they knew he would be there with them if it went wrong. After the war, the army honors him in concrete ways. Rose barracks in Vilseck, Germany becomes home to American armored units. Maurice Rose Army Airfield opens near Frankfurt. Buildings at Fort Knox carry his name, linking him permanently to the training of armored forces. In Denver, the Jewish community renames a planned hospital in his honor. General Maurice Rose Memorial Hospital opens in 1948 and later becomes Rose Medical Center, still operating decades later. The Army names a transport ship Major General Maurice Rose. It serves for nearly 30 years. In Margareton, a primary school carries his name, a quiet thank you from a liberated nation. In 2022, a 10-foot bronze statue is unveiled in Denver. It depicts Rose moving forward, helmet on, eyes ahead. The words on the base are simple. Follow me. Military historians continue to debate his legacy. Some point to the casualty lists and argue that his aggression cost lives. Others counter that his relentless pressure shortened the war and saved far more than it cost. Both arguments miss the essential truth. Maurice Rose believed armored warfare demanded personal leadership. He never asked his men to go where he would not go himself. He lived that belief from North Africa to Sicily, from Normandy to Germany. He died the same way, not in a grand gesture, not in a planned charge, but in a moment of confusion on a forest road, under trees that cast deep shadows even in daylight. 30 seconds. A misunderstanding. A life ended. What remains is not the shot that killed him, but the way he lived before it. A general who refused to slow down, who refused to stay behind, who believed that leadership meant going first. If this story stayed with you, take a moment and make sure it does not disappear. Hit like, subscribe, share it. These stories survive only if they are told. Maurice Rose followed his men into history. Now it is our turn to remember him.